All right, guys, so we are going into day 2 of factoring. So we're going to take what we learned yesterday and just take it one step further. All right, so from the previous notes, there's a thing called a zero product property, and that's what we're going to use today. Because after you find factors of C that add to get B, you rewrite it, but then we need to set it equal to 0. So this last step, step E, is what we're adding today. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start with number 1. So we know that B is positive 1 and C is 12. Well, it's already set equal to 0, so that's perfect. It's in standard form. We got it as x squared plus bx plus c. Let's find factors of 12. Well, two numbers that multiply to get us 12 are 1 and 12. We've got 2 and 6, and then we got 3 and 4. Well, if our goal is to get a positive 1, we know 1 and 12 is not going to work. And we know that 6 and 2 is also not going to work. So 3 and 4 is our lucky guess, or, not really lucky because we know it. Well, if we want to get a positive 1, which one of these needs to be negative? Does 3 have to be negative, or does 4 have to be negative? All right, 3 has to be negative because you want a positive 1, so the smaller number should be negative. So we're plugging in x minus 3, x plus 4. So this is what we did yesterday. We're taking it one step further to find the zeros of this quadratic. So we're setting both of these equal to 0. So we got x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0. Well, our next step is to solve for x. So if I want to get x by itself in the first one, I need to add 3 on both sides. And 0 plus 3 just gives me 3. So my first 0 is at 3. My second one, I have x plus 4 equals 0. Well, I want to get rid of that 4. So I subtract it on both sides, so x equals negative 4. So my zeros, for example number 1, is 3 and negative 4. Okay, well, let's do that process again. Well, if you look at number 2, there's something a little different about this one than the other ones. We see that it's equal to 3. Well, 1, we need it to be equal to 0. Okay, that's what's given in the formula. So let's move over that 3. If that's a positive 3, how do I get it to the other side? I subtract. So my new quadratic is x squared plus 2x minus 3. So let's find factors of 3. We've got, oh my gosh, just 1 and 3. How crazy. Well, our goal is to get a positive 2. So which one has to be negative? The 1 or the 3? And the 1 has to be negative. Crazy. So I've got x minus 1, x plus 3. So my next step is to set both of them equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Well, let's solve for x. So add 1 on both sides. I got x equals 1. Then I gotta get rid of that 3 by subtracting. 0 minus 3 gives me x equals negative 3. Those are my zeros. Okay? Figured I'd sing through that one. Why not? Alright, so there's 1 and 2. Let's go ahead and try 3 and 4. Well, again, we want our equation to be x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And yo, these don't equal 0. So let's get them to. So if I got a negative 6x, I got to do the opposite, which is adding 6x. And remember, I want my x term to be in the middle. So I've got x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Well, my next step, find factors of 9, that gets you 6. So we've got 1 and 9, and we got 3 and 3. Oh, and how crazy. We're doing 3 and 3 because those add to get us 6. So we got x plus 3, and we've got x plus 3. Well, now let's set both of those equal to 0 and figure out what's going on. So what's crazy is I subtract 3 on both sides, get x by itself, and I got x equals -3. Well, I'm going to do that process all over again for the other one because it's the same thing. So x is -3. So what's crazy is we got the exact same number. You only have to write it once. So our answer is x equals -3. All right, last one, number 4. Is it in the form of x squared plus bx plus c? No, it's not. We have to get rid of that negative x squared. We got to make this a 0, so we got to move it to the other side. So because that's a negative, you got to do the opposite, which is adding, so plus x squared. And remember, our x squared has to go in front, so I've got x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals 0. Beautiful. Now I've got factors of 7. Well, factors of 7, let's see. Well, it's just 1 and 7. Okay, if our goal is to get -8, that means both of these have to be negative. So my 1 is negative and my 7 is negative. So I'm plugging in x minus 1, x minus 7. Now I'm going to set both of those equal to 0. So I got x minus 1 equals 0. And I've got x minus 7 equals 0. All right, now we got to solve. We got to solve. So we got +1 on both sides. So x equals 1. And then we got to add 7 on both sides. And x equals 7. Crazy. That was so challenging. Oh my gosh. All right, so we just did 4 problems. They're very similar to what we did in our last video, but we added on solving to find our zeros, our roots, our x-intercepts, all of those. Okay, so that's what we're putting in today's worksheet. So if you have any questions, let us know. See you later.